Welcome to the demo of SoftGST application. This is one of the ASP application from Trust Systems, which is connecting to the GSP of our own called GSP India. Let's go to the first step of logging into the SoftGST. The first step in the system is to get the inward supplies. So there are many ways by which the inward outward supplies can be taken into the system. One is through the FTP upload, or another way is to get into the import from where the Excel sheets can be imported. Now we will skip this step because we already imported the data from for the July from one of our customers. Now the data can be seen, as a part of the mechanism. So you can see there are 15 records which are B2B, and there are 5 records which are B2CS. If someone wants to see in detail the records, he can basically go to the various screens and see the data. Now the next step is to validate the GSTR data, because we don't want the errors to come out when we upload the records to the GSTN and face the issue while uploaded. So since this process is already done, so you can see there are a number of records which are uploaded are 15 and valid records are 15. Once that is done, then the most interesting step for the GSTN is to go to the GSTN GST returns. So we have save GSTR is an option. So there are 3 steps. One is to save, then to file, and the third is basically to do a submit. So if you look at to reduce the load of the data to the GSTN, we also have a mechanism to select number of records which the customer wants. Most of our customers are more than, like the banks who have more than lakhs of records. So we wanted this facility to avoid multiple errors coming from the system. We also have a mechanism where we can basically upload a particular section. So if it's a B2B, then let's B2B section gets loaded. If B2C is, individual sections. Just this is to optimize the performance of the application at the server side. So let's go to the step where we will save the GSTR1. So what we'll do is we'll basically do a July data. Now this is a JSON created out of the imported data what we have. If someone want to see a right JSON, we can basically come here and look at the appropriate JSON after the like formatted JSON. Now once this is done, then one can click on save. This user authentication is basically the authentication at the GSP side. This is the username and password which can be happening. Now just for testing purpose on a sandbox, if someone want to generate a new OTP, he can do that, or if he doesn't want, he can reuse the existing OTP. Now once the verify is done, the authentication is done, you can see that the reference number has been generated. If the server is loaded and the particular load is basically in progress, you can see that, and by clicking on the link you can very well check again the status of it. So this is basically a filing of GSTR1. Similar to the concept, we have something called GSTR2. So we also have a GSTR2A, where we can see the GSTR2 coming for the month of August, July. Before that, if you want to see a consolidation, so if I go to GSTR2, you can see various options where I can have a purchase invoice entry, I can have credit debit notes. Now for the GSTR2, the first step starts with the reconciliation. So if I want to see the data coming from GSTR2A, which my suppliers have uploaded GSTR1, I can see get GSTR2 data. So once I do that, I can match it with my purchase register, and you can see that the return status is R, which is reconciled, so it's accepted. Another thing which has been uploaded is basically not reconciled, so you can see a various status here. And once this is done, so you can see a status where it's NAPR, it's not reconciled, and not uploaded by the seller, NUBS, and these are the various status which are coming in. So once this all data get reconciled, then we can basically so if in case of a purchase which is not there in my register but the seller has already uploaded that, so we have a mechanism where we can create a purchase register, so that entry can be added in our portal, and once that is done, then the flag will get changed to a reconciled. So if there's a mismatch, so this is the entire mechanism. So if I want to see a reconciled status, I can see one record which is reconciled. This is based on various GSTNs we have uploaded on the GSTN portal for the sandbox. Since this is purely a sandbox testing, it can be seen here. So if it is not reconciled, these are the things. So if it is vendor, so these are the vendors. It's only in the vendors purchase register, but not in our purchase register. So we can create a purchase register here. Now this is basically since it's not submitted yet, we may not be get this data, but you can see a summary of GSTR2 data from our side. So total number of records are 15, taxable value, IGST and all that. And if someone wants to see a more detailed view of it, then a particular GSTN wise invoice numbers can be seen. So um, so these are the various steps where we can basically file the GSTR returns. Now once the reconciled status is happening, then we also have a GSTR2 where we can save the GSTR2 here. The period has to be July because we loaded the data for July 1. So this is GSTR2 data which will come in, and if you want to save it, the exactly the same process. So if you look at the errors coming out, you submitted returns having errors, so error in JSON structure. So the errors have been captured, and it also be put it in the format where people can understand what the errors are. So this is a standard response code which get generated, because since we have not reconciled various records, it's basically says there's errors here. Now we already simulated various errors by changing the period, by changing the slab rates, by changing the invoice numbers. So these are the various mechanisms by which we can validate how the data can be sent. So these are various types of GST sections we can. So one is basically we can upload individual sections, or we can upload the um, entire GSTR2. So this is the way we basically submit and update the things. So now again it says that save form type 2 error reporting error ingestion structure. So these are the various errors which we get. If you see our submission of GSTR1, it's getting successful. The only issue now here is that we have not tested the submission part, because because the sandbox is not returning the right response back. So that's all. In case of any issues, please revert back to us, and we'll appreciate inputs on the demo part. This is basically the ASP part, which is connecting to the GSP India GSP. Now we will also look at now the GSP onboarding, like for the ASP. So let's move on to another video.